I'm Danielle, and welcome to this enchanted house. So, May flew by and there's no video, and I just after I did a video about dropping the ball. I didn't actually drop the ball. I have like a bunch of half-film videos I've been trying to get outside of just sitting here and talking, though today was a lot of sitting and talking about books, trying to catch up on some book reviews I've had percolating. Like, I've had the notes and stuff for them, and it's like, I should, do those. But yeah, so... And also, I don't know, if you are a parent, you will know the hidden dangers of May. May is one of those months, it's like, May is a really long month. There's nothing big that month. There's no Christmas. There's no Easter. It's the end of the school year, and there are all sorts of end of the school year stuff going on. And I had a really great May, actually. There was a lot going on. A lot of, like, both my kids had stuff that was just amazing happen. My daughter her art was featured on her college's every year they do a magazine with art and poetry and writing, and this portrait she did of my grandmother and her wedding day was the cover. And it's one of those things that, like, when she did it, it was just like it was I just loved it. And just to see her get honored in that way for it was, like, amazing. My son, of course, he does band and school stuff, and he got National Junior Honor Society and all this other stuff. So we were like, there's a lot. Just trying to get stuff up around the house. There's a lot of nice weather, and sometimes you have to try to take advantage of the nice weather to get stuff done outside. So I got the sunroom cleared out so we can go out in the sunroom and have drinks and chill and read and stuff, which has been nice. And then I've got some plants. I got my plants out there going. I have one flower bed right now. I'm hoping to put in more. The yard's kind of been the forgotten child while I've gotten the house up to par. But I'm hoping to do more out there. One of the projects I filmed it, is I redid my front door with definite help from my daughter, and there's a video coming up on that. And it's like, I can't tell you how excited I am for that video because it just turned out so amazing. And there's lots going on. We're going to check out the Ren Fair this weekend, and hopefully I'll do a video on that. I cleaned out my closet. There's a video on that. So I've got actual lots of content. I actually was working, just didn't have anything that was finished because I was doing a bunch of projects at the same time. So yeah, I don't know. I was trying to think of a topic for this vlog. One of the books I reviewed was the Cottage Fairies book, which is a YouTube channel I absolutely adore. And it did get me kind of thinking about the idea of, am I cottagecore? And like I've kind of said before, cottagecore is like a part of what I am, but I'm not just cottagecore. I'm into all sorts. My aesthetics, my wonderful little Ghibli mix, I call it. And I have a whole video. If you've been around, you know I have a whole video on that. But yeah, so I was thinking about the whole idea of, like, my cottagecore does not look like her cottagecore at all. Like, there's a lot of overlap in the things we're interested in, the things we do. We both grow up our own plants. We both love to cook, though my cooking looks really different than hers. My cooking, I think, is more, for lack of a better way to put it, is just heavier. I love, like, really heavy, thick soups and like roast meats and like roast vegetables, and also she's cooking for herself and her husband, or just for herself, whereas I'm cooking for my whole family. So I'm making these, like, sort of bigger meals. And I think there's this idea sometimes we get in our heads that we look at other people's stuff, and especially with social media and on YouTube and stuff, where we look at other people and we go, oh God, they're so good, I can never do that. Or, oh gosh, that's what I love, but that's not what mine looks like, and what I'm doing looks different, and am I really... And it's like, aesthetic is not a uniform. It is not something you put on and you fall in step with everybody else. Aesthetic, as I've talked a lot about, comes from philosophy, and comes from this question in philosophy of what is beautiful. And the truth is, at least for me, and we're moving away from philosophy, but the truth for that question is it's individual. Every beauty is in the eye of the beholder. That's So your aesthetic is not going to look exactly like anyone else's. And you can admire someone else's aesthetic and say, oh God, I love that. And there's things I want to be inspired by that. But you're not going to be able to replicate them because you're different and you're you. And they might really like green and you might really like blue. And so yours is going to look blue. And, I love pinafore dresses, but finding them in my size is hard because they're very fitted dresses. And as I'll show you guys here, I'm very round up top. I get kind of smushy, and then I get round again. And let's just say a lot of those companies that make those dresses really don't want to make them for plus size people. I found different ways. Today I'm wearing this one. I've got that kind of look because this is a dress by a company called Cosmic Drifters, which sadly is they're closing down because of cost of production, and there has been some people basically stealing their designs and selling them cheaper. But she used to do these. What she did is she would do the fabric. So this is the print from not the last one she did, but the one before, and I'm trying to remember what it's called. It's something witchy, I'm sure, or herby. And she would do basically a bunch of this fabric in this print, and then you could order different outfits made in it. And she is very plus size inclusive, which is always something to celebrate. But yeah, so especially also clean up my closet. Like there's stuff that's all over the place, and I don't know. There's stuff that's more, like I said, because I don't know, sometimes I feel more like dark academia. I like the really like blazers and vests and plaids and tweeds and very crisp. And sometimes I am much more flowy and cottagecore, and sometimes I'm witchy, and sometimes I'm feeling real. But then, with the cottagecore, I'm feeling more light pastels, and I get more dark and witchy. And steampunk, sometimes I just want to just be super over the top, super Victorian. So that's why I said, like, my aesthetic is not just one aesthetic that falls in any unique category. It's my own personal aesthetic. I call it Ghibli because I think that's kind of my major inspiration, and there's sort of this uniformity, though there are things in Ghibli that are very cottagecore, and there are things in Ghibli that are very witchy, whimsicore, and there are things in Ghibli that are very steampunk. And yet there's sort of this uniformity to it that all kind of just goes together because it's like, it's Hayao Miyazaki's just vision. And so anyways, my point more was, and it's hard to do, and I think just in general there's this idea that we look at influencer culture and social media, and it's like, oh, there's a sort of perfect vision being presented to us, and if we don't look like that, or if we're not exactly following that or copycatting that, it's somehow we're failing. And I don't know, like one of the first videos, and I don't know if I want to actually recommend people go look at it, is I did a video called Breaking the Rules of Cottagecore. Because, I don't know, there was sort of this idea like, oh, if you're not living in a cottage in the woods, you can't be cottagecore. It's like, well, that's not actually practical for most people. And actually, I don't know if I talked about this, I did live in a cottage. I lived in a cottage for like 5-6 years. Let's see, 2000. Like 7 years? Oh god, I'm trying to do math in my head. I lived in a little like tiny cottage that is technically had 2 bedrooms, but honestly, I think the cottage it maybe was slightly bigger than my living room is in my current house. And I'm not trying to brag here, just say, and it was great. It was just me and my daughter. I was divorced, and I was trying to get back up on my feet after my divorce, and trying to finish my degree and a bunch of other stuff. And I loved it, and I decorated the crap out of it, and painted it, and thrifted stuff and got stuff secondhand. The kitchen cabinets in it were my grandparents' old kitchen cabinets from their house because they had gotten new cabinets years ago, and so I had like vintage cabinets, and I had a little garden, and I planted roses, and it was great. But then my life changed, and I married my husband, and I got pregnant, and we really quickly realized that just even the three of us, there was not enough room because me and my daughter had already filled this space. Like, you know, she had her toys, I had my clothes, I had my books, and my husband came in and there was like, he's like, here's your drawer. And then he has his hobbies and his interests and he deserves his space too. So, and then we were expecting my son is like, we need something bigger. And at the time, this house fit all our practical needs. It is not my aesthetic dream. It is a house that's in a subdivision that was built in the 90s. It's very builder grade. Like the fireplace, the little figures on the fireplace, I hate those. I'm afraid to rip them off because I don't want to like try to, because then I feel like I have to refinish the whole fireplace. I have thoughts and ideas of maybe how to transform it. And that's what I've been doing slowly over the past decade, is transforming my house into something that kind of aesthetically pleases me. Also, there's some practical things that needed to be replaced and redone. Actually, that's another thing I talk about, things that happened. My washer and dryer just died and I had to buy a new one. Which kind of has prompted me to redo the laundry room and make it a little more practical, and just some small things like there was a closet I would hang dry things in, but I'm hanging up a cord so I can hang dry things in the laundry room and not have to have this closet, because when the closet's open you can't get in the garage. It's a whole thing. But I don't know, everyone, I'm going tangent again, I'm going off on tangents, but that's kind of what the vlog's for. But yeah, like I had the cottagecore dream. I was living in a tiny little cottage. It was right off of Lake Erie's, beautiful trees and nature and all that around. But my life changed and that did not fit anymore. But that aesthetic and a lot of the principles of that came with me. And so, you know, I do grow my own herbs still. I still try to make things and do things and cook, and I don't know. Sometimes I feel very like a fake, like I don't live in an enchanted cottage, but I do. Like looking around, I mean, my house does not look like a cookie cutter house. And that's through years of me doing things. There's little fairy doors all over the place in my house. We have lots of fish because my husband keeps fish. I have a betta. I'm on my third betta now. Because they don't have quite as long lives. Because I can't keep cats and dogs because I'm allergic. So we have fish. But my husband's very into fish, and we have like little mini ponds all over the place. And there's just I don't know. What was my point? There's no right way to do an aesthetic. An aesthetic is an idea, and how you translate that idea is up to you, and it's your personal connection and how you manifest it. Like, even with steampunk, I know so many people who do steampunk, and we all have different aesthetics. You go to a steampunk event, there's so many different outfits and so many different takes on it, and they're all steampunk, and they're all wonderful. It's just, aesthetic is not a uniform, and don't feel like you have, if you like an aesthetic, don't feel you have to recreate how other people do it. It's very much about making it your own and having your own interpretation of it. So that was a really long rant with a lot of tangents. We'll see how much of it makes it into the final cut of this video, but yeah. Cottage Fairy, love her. I'm not her, but we have a lot in common. And like, I'm gonna just say, I don't know her personally at all. I'm just follow her and enjoyed her, and she came out with a book, and I review books here, so that's why we're talking about her. But yeah, so how are you guys doing? I'd love to hear from you guys. What's your experience? Do you ever get that feeling like, oh, I'm doing this aesthetic wrong because it doesn't look like this other person's? Or is that just a me thing? Yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys and just hear how you're doing, how things are going with you. If you have questions for me about anything I talk about or anything you want to talk about, I'd love to hear from you guys down below. Also, would love to connect with you on social media. There are also links to my Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr down below, and you can check me out there. If you like this video, if you like my ramblings about things, thank you. And also, please, if you can give it a like, that would be great. If you're new here, hi. I actually have videos where I actually plan things out and have like topics I'm actually like talking about, not just rambling. But once a month, I'm trying to do a more vlog style video, just to, you know, try to connect more people watching, I guess. So yeah, if you're new here, please check out my other videos. And if it seems like your cup of tea, subscribe and catch up with the latest and the greatest. I hope you guys have an enchanted day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.